Yeah, I was afraid of failure. I was afraid of rejection. You pick it. I was afraid of it. And I think one day I just realized that what you fear establishes the boundaries of your freedom. And I was living in a self-contained prison, a self-made prison. So I decided to flip the script for myself, and I decided to use fear to my advantage.
Look beyond the glory is the hardest part. When I was surrounded by nothing but darkness, my natural instinct was to fight to get out of it. I had no other choice, I had no other option. There was nothing else I could do apart from fight in this dark abyss to get out of it. Now, you know, life looks a little bit better. There is potential in the future. I have my son. You know, it isn't just complete darkness around me right now. There's glimpses of light. There's a bright horizon in the future. Now, the hardest part is not when you're in the abyss to fight and get out. The hardest part is when you're standing on the bright horizon and you have to stare down to jump back into the abyss, because the darkness is exactly what you need right now.
Whatever I was afraid of, I moved toward. So I remember being in a gym and there was this girl that I thought was gorgeous on the other side of the gym. I was so shy and so introverted and terrified of girls. And I remember walking all the way around that gym and asking her to dance. And she looked at me and said no. And I walked all the way back and sat down, and my friend said, "What'd she say?" And she said no. I said, "What'd you do?" I said, "I walked back." He said, "Was there a girl sitting next to her?" And I said, "Yes." He goes, "Why didn't you look at her and say, would you like to dance?" And it shifted something in my brain. And I thought, don't just ask once and don't just look for one option. Use fear to your advantage. And I just started doing that with everything. I was afraid of roller coasters, so I went on the fastest ones. You know, I was, if I was afraid of the dark, I would just dive into deep, dark places. And I was afraid of rejection, I would just go out and go ahead and ask. If I was afraid of failure, I would go and try. And by the time I was in my 20s, I had a reputation for being an insane risk taker.
You make your own fear. You make it. Someone's scared of spiders. Oh, I'm terrified of spiders. But if you go and crush one with your fingers, you could if you had to. Just like if I'm scared to have a fight, but if someone's trying to hurt your children, that fear somehow with a lot of people will disappear. So fear to me is completely self-generated and can be defeated and can be beaten. Sometimes when it's because it's necessary and you have no option. But to think if you can harness that, if you can rip that skill and say, well, when someone's scared of heights but the house is burning down, now they've got to climb out the bedroom window and climb down the drain pipe. All of a sudden the fear of heights has disappeared out of necessity. So if people can learn how to tap into that and go, do you know what, I'm just gotta do it. Don't want to do it, but I've got to. Let's go.
It's easy to get dissatisfied. It's easy to get frightened. It's easy to become fearful. It's easy to lose hope. It's easy to lose perspective. It's easy to get lost.
In life, you get the opportunity to do something that you're scared about, or you have to face something that you fear, or you don't think you're brave enough to step outside of your comfort zone. The minute you make that deal with yourself that you're gonna do it, you will grow until the moment that you finished it. And the hardest part will always be to take the first step. And once you take that first step, every step onwards gets easier, to the point that you've become a person that you don't even recognize anymore for good reasons after you finished it. Doesn't matter what I have to face, doesn't matter what I come up against. What matters is my attitude towards it. And I always run head on into the storm, because the sooner I run head on into it, the sooner I'll be out the other side into bright skies and green pastures. That's what I believe. So I always tackle things head on and deal with it and then move on from after.
Anything that you're gonna do if it's hard, if it's difficult, if there's going to be a lot of resistance in doing it, if your goal isn't as substantial as the resistance that you're going to meet, it's going to be hard to persevere through that resistance. And so if you've spent any huge quantity of your time doing something in a certain way that you now have to completely change, I just find that without a really good reason, without a really good goal that means a lot to you, it's going to be hard to do that, because you're really, for long term, you're really changing your life, right? I mean, unless you put on 10 pounds 1 year and it's completely abnormal, then it's kind of like, well, just go back to doing what you were doing before you gain 10 pounds and you're going to be fine. That shouldn't be so hard. But if you've lived half or more than half of your life in a certain way, kind of rewiring your brain is difficult, and rewiring your habits and changing all that is difficult. So, I think that the amount of resistance and barriers that you're going to meet should be comparable to the size of the goal and the significance of the goal. And if it's real small, right? If the goal is real small or really meaningless to you, it's going to be hard to get through that, I think.
Anxiety is plaguing our society, man. It's like, anxiety is like a freaking epidemic, dude. So many people are plagued by anxiety. It's, but it's been that way. That's human nature. One of the number one things that Jesus said was, fear not. He knew our nature. He told us over and over again, fear not, right? Don't worry about tomorrow, because today has enough worries of its own. Like, he knew our nature, and it's a constant battle against that. But the way you learn, what we're talking about right now is learning to stay present, like be where your feet are. And the way that you learn to stay present and overcome that type of anxiety is through intentional repetition. Like, that's how I became the person that I am today, to where when things get hard, I can get through it because I can stay so present in the moment. But that is my default in adversity, because I've done so many things that have brought me to that point that it was harder than I wanted it to be. I didn't want to be there anymore. It wasn't fun. I've had so many repetitions of that, and had to make a conscious decision in that exact moment to reel myself back in and focused only on the next step. That's hard at first. That's really hard to do at first when you first start practicing that. And most people don't ever even get a chance to practice that, because they don't choose to go and do difficult things in the first place. And because they don't choose to go and do difficult things and exercise that muscle and learn the skill of being present, well, then life blindsides them with something and they're not ready for it, and they get overwhelmed and they just give up, right? I mean, that's why the reason that we train so hard is so that we are prepared for life when life happens, because that's when we have to make decisions that truly matter. And that's one of the big gifts out of SEAL training. At a very young age, I got pushed to that point every single day, that it was so hard that I had to focus on only the next step. And that just has now become my default, and it stayed with me through the rest of my life,
I mean, I would walk into projects with armed guards with Uzi machine guns in every entry, cocaine stacked to ceilings, and I would walk in and make contact with the owners of drug cartels and begin to talk to them about life and God. And people actually made bets on what day I would be killed. And I remember one time there was a SWAT team that dropped in on a house, and they busted open the door. I had a couple of interns with me, and they were just apprenticing with me. I said, let's go. We run into the house. There's this massive, like, muscular guy named Maverick that, you know, I discovered his name later, and they're about to go into a huge conflict. I jump in between the military, and I look at this guy, and I look at the police, and I go, I got this, because he was gonna get shot and killed. And his girlfriend was there, and there's all these, and I just talked the guy down. I get him settled. I convince them not to arrest him. They finally all leave. I sit down with him and work out the situation, help him realize his life could be better. We leave, the interns go, how long have you known that guy? I said, never met him in my life. and so there was this sense where the moment my heart would pound and I saw like danger or I saw risk, I just trained myself to move hard and fast. It opened up the whole world to me. It's why I was able to sneak through Lebanon to Syria and walk the streets of Damascus and fly into Pakistan. When on the plane, I was warned that if I do anything illegal, I will be arrested or killed in the country. So I made a decision and I said, I won't take unnecessary risks, but I will take the ones that make the world better or that can bring a positive change. And that's when I shifted from that adrenaline rush of, you know, thrill and risk and that strategic intention of a risk that matters. And yeah, so I look back and I realize, I think all of us are trying to, you know, create a counterintuitive story. You know, if we feel we were insignificant, we try to find significance and we try to give people significance, right? You know, if we need to be healed and we find healing, then we try to heal other people. And for me, mine has always been, there's a heroic narrative inside of everyone. There's a hero inside of everyone waiting to be awakened. And the reason I know that is because I was a coward, and there was a hero inside of me. And when he woke up, he changed my life.
Something was making me anxious. Like the idea, like fight week's not a comfortable time. Like you wake up on fight day and you feel, it's a horrible feeling. Like, and I can only liken it to sitting in a maths class and knowing that as soon as the class is over, you're gonna have a fight in the playground. And then for the next 55 minutes, your heart's pounding, right? But have that for a week or for 6 weeks, right? And then you get better at managing that feeling. But then when you get there for fight week, it hits you. And like, okay, now it's real. And then you wake up on fight day and, oh, now it's real. Now someone's gonna try and murder me later today. You know, so you kind of, I always felt like you've got to cross that bridge before you arrive at it. And you can't do that without visualization. Like, if I know that fight week's going to make me anxious, then I want to force that anxiety onto myself every day before I get there. Because then when I arrive at that place, that anxiety is not going to feel really, really uncomfortable. It's going to be uncomfortable, but it's going to feel more familiar than anything, right? And it goes the same for dealing with that anxiety in fight week, but to dealing with it in the cage as well. You know, I don't want new experiences in the cage, and which is a challenge because it's not a space that anyone's got access to. Like you can't go and get in a cage this weekend. Do you know what I mean? Like most gyms don't have cages these days. So like the idea of stepping into a cage that's got a particular type of canvas and steps that walk up to it with the tread plates, the grip on them, and you know the little grill that you cross over with the light shine through before you step onto the canvas, and how the canvas is a 1/2 inch raised up and it feels different, it smells different. You know what I mean? It's like I have the fortune of being there, so I can replicate it in my mind. But I always say to fighters, look, if the fight's making you anxious, you've got to live it every day. You've got to put yourself in that uncomfortable place to the point where it becomes familiar to you.
But there were hard times, I won't lie. You know, I felt like to be facially disfigured is really hard. You go out in public, we all look at each other's faces. And even today, I get a lot of attraction. You know, people look at me, kids stare at me a lot. Because my face looks different. There's something wrong with it. They can tell. There's scars, my eyes a little off. But go back to the beginning, I mean, I looked really rough. So that was hard, going out in public and dealing with that. I got frustrated after a period of time. What started happening is after my 8 weeks inpatient, I started doing outpatient, and they, you know, thanks to the SEAL teams and connections we have and a little bit of my own endeavors, I ended up connecting to some of the best surgeons in the world to rebuild my face and nose, but that required a lot of travel. I was, fly, go have a surgery, fly pre-op, come back, fly, surgery, 2 or 3 week recovery, come home, recover, and then repeat the process for multiple years. A lot of setbacks. Battlefield injuries are really dirty. So frequently infection sets in, and I had all kinds of infection problems with my face. So this nose they built me is actually the third nose. The first 2 failed, and they totally had to cut it out and start over. And that was really hard. I mean, at a certain period, like literally I just had a hole in my face, and I used to go around with a piece of gauze. I often joke I look like Skeletor. And that's no wonder Skeletor's so damn angry, right? Finally, we gained traction. But no, man, there were a lot of dark, hard moments. I won't lie. But I also frequently tell people, what's interesting is the leadership failure set me up for success for this. I don't think I would have done as well out of it if I had not been through, that's the hardest journey I've ever been through. Most people think oh, you were wounded, that must be the hardest. No, being told you're a failure and you don't belong in our community is the hardest thing I ever went through. So the good news is it set me up for success later. So I try and tell people that. I'm like, hey man, it sucks when we go through hard moments in this life, but also know that it may be preparing you for something bigger that's coming that you don't know. So, be thankful, try and grind through it. Yes, it will be hard. And it was. 4 years, 40 surgeries, a lot of setbacks. And that was the physical injuries. You talk about the mental and the alcohol, yes. Probably 3 years after my injuries, I was almost healed. I'd launched a nonprofit, once again driven, I don't know. I don't think I created this nonprofit because I wanted to prove something. I created it because I wanted to help other guys from the things that I went through. But in that process, really struggling and really started fighting a lot of the invisible demons in my head from war, not sleeping, kind of reliving the firefight. My career being thrown off course, I had kind of come to grips by that point that I was never going to be operational again, that this was the best they could do, which, really limits, for operational purposes, not being able to use this arm to grab gear and things like that. It's really hard for me to buckle a helmet. That kind of stopped me from being operational. So I think all that settled in, and I kind of started pushing everybody away, my wife, my kids, and drinking a lot, and that was the only time in our entire marriage to date or before this when she said, this is how our marriage can end if you are unwilling to seek help. And that woke me up, and I said, okay. So I went and saw the command chaplain and the command psych, and I said, I need help. That helped me, got better.
Not easy to change, but it was never easy to change. But with enough repetitions, it will. Okay? And I will tell people, I normally tell people it's actually quite difficult to do all of it at the same time. So one of the exercises I normally do is I tell people, write down the top 10 things that made you unhappy or stressed last week. Okay? And then rank them in order and focus on one and keep focusing on it until it goes away, right? When that one goes away, the second one will be so much easier to fix. The third one will be much easier to fix, and so on, right? But if your biggest issue is fear, okay, because you're always worried and anxious about something, work on what you're afraid of, okay? Try to, and I deal with my brain as a third party. So I basically speak to my brain. My brain says, the future is grim. I go okay, and like Ali used to treat me. I entertain my brain and I go why do you think so? The economy this and the artificial intelligence that and blah, 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 blah. I go like, great. Can you now give me evidence for why the future isn't going to be grim? Okay? And my brain goes like, nah, there are none. I'm like, there are some. Can you give me evidence why the world is not going to be grim? And then it would go like, yeah, because you're now old and experienced. You know, it's because now you have a reasonable network of people. Oh, now it's because, this happened actually yesterday in the geopolitics and it changed things. Oh, by the way, because the world has always been grim and we've always been here. So it seems that grim is not, is not a prerequisite to ending the world. It's, we always figure a way out of it. And it will give me a million good reasons if only I force it to do that. Okay, so your brains are designed as a survival machine. So they have the negativity bias that basically tells them, observe what's wrong because it matters to our survival more than what's right. This is why if a tiger shows up in front of us right now, none of us is going to look at it and say, oh my God, so majestic. It is majestic, okay? But you don't say that because your brain wants to say we're going to die. Because that's more important than appreciating the beauty of a tiger. Right? We're going to die if a tiger shows up. We're going to die if our boss sends an email. We're going to die, if we're stuck in traffic. Your brain is constantly looking for what's wrong. Teach it to look for what's right, and it will oblige.
Fear can rule our lives, and fear holds us back in life. We play it small because of fear. That's why I wanted to make this video, because it's so powerful to hear these people that I admire, these people that I think there's no way they would ever be scared. I just think that they step into the fire and they're okay with it. But to hear these great people talk about fear in such a vulnerable and powerful way, to me, is inspiring. Especially like hearing Erwin McManus talk about fear in the way he does. It's so powerful. He's so passionate about the topic of fear. But fear to me is very personal, as is probably with many people, because fear has held me back in so many ways in my life. From a young age, I was scared of everything. Like, I was scared of literally everything. I couldn't even be on my own in a room because I was so scared of something happening, like a ghost or a monster. It was crazy. It ruled my life to the point where I couldn't do what I wanted to do. I couldn't sit alone in a room and read a book or watch film because I was too scared. And I had to follow my older brothers around the house in order to feel okay, which sounds quite embarrassing, but I'm over that now. So I'm happy to talk about it. But then getting into older age, fear shows up again. And it means I'm playing it small. The work I do with the Everyday Stoic, I wanted to do videos like that, and I wanted to write like that, and I wanted to help people and teach people like that. I wanted to mentor, but I couldn't do it because I was too scared. I was too anxious. I didn't want to step into the light. People think it's scary being in the dark, but oftentimes it's scarier to step into the light because you are naked, you are visible. Everyone is looking at you. The spotlight is on you. So you're fully vulnerable. You're open to criticism. I realized none of that matters. I mean, my personal journey through fear, I got a lot of help from the Stoics. That's why I like to teach Stoicism, because the ancient Stoics like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca, Musonius Rufus, these men, these people, these great Stoics, they helped me get over my fears. So I think listening to this video, if you listen to it a few times, it will help you get over your fears. It will help you realize that many of the things you're scared of are silly. We only have one life, and to be held back by these silly things, like what people might think, what people might say, it's ridiculous. You live with yourself 24/7. So why are you going to allow a person that's not even important to you, that doesn't have any control over you, why are you going to allow their perception to influence your 24-hour life? Because you portray yourself. When you reject your passions, when you reject your dreams, your goals, when you reject these things out of the idea of what other people may say or do, you're betraying yourself. And you have to live with that. You don't want to live with that. It's like Inception. You become an old man filled with regret. Or you can just take that leap. Here at Mulligan Brothers, we played it small for a long time out of fear. There's that concept, it's an Australian concept of the flower that blooms, gets cut down, So many people stay small because they don't want to rise above the other flowers. And that's what we was doing. We were staying in our small-mindedness. You know, when we grew up, we were all laborers. That's the only job we thought we could have, is laboring, because that's all we ever know. We didn't think we was good enough for anything else. In fact, this company started because we did a week or so of laboring jobs, pulled our money together, and then bought the first computer on which we edited these videos on. But we all played it small because we were scared. But then we stepped out. I remember one of the first big steps we did was going to Paris, drove to Paris to interview Bionic Body, Edgar. And that project there changed the trajectory of our lives. And we've always done these steps along the way. And then these documentary films we're making now, it takes a big step. Going over to America is a big step. And to some people it's quite easy, but to us we was always playing it small, staying behind the camera. But now we're getting in front of the camera because we feel like we have advice to share, stories to tell, wisdom, knowledge, you know, because we've been in this space most of our life. We've been learning from the best. We've been studying the best. We've been listening to the best. And most important in all of that, we've been implementing this stuff into our life. So right now, the reason I'm filming these instead of Luke is because Luke, Jordan, and Neve are in Miami filming with DJ Shipley, a huge project that we're going to be making a film about. So if you want to see that, subscribe to the Mulligan Brothers channel, subscribe to Mulligan Brothers interviews to see the full interviews. Because the full interviews, what you're seeing here, are from Jordan's talks with these amazing guests. So Jordan interviews these people, he gets their life story, he speaks with them. Sometimes he does things with them, like goes on runs or hikes or drives. And we hear their stories. And the team film it, Jordan, Luke, Neve, they film it. And that's what you see here. It's been formulated into a motivational video because I know people love this format. Certainly I do. I love listening to these things whilst I'm doing anything, working out, running, walking, tidying up. And that's my most important thing is don't just listen to these videos, implement them into your life, because motivation can become a form of procrastination if you allow it, because it does make you feel good. It releases dopamine so you feel like you've achieved something. But make sure you use them in conjunction with doing something. So if you're in your room, do some press-ups on the floor, start that writing, start that planning, go for a walk, go for a run, sign up to the gym, whatever it is that is important to you, just take a few steps towards that whilst listening to these videos. And then suddenly motivation is this driving force in your life. And if you want to see what the team are doing, you can head over to Instagram to follow them there. The links will be in the description. They're doing some really interesting projects over in America. They're doing some really interesting things. Jordan and Neve are currently training and almost actually about to head out to do a marathon. They've got some really incredible targets for times. Bear in mind, these guys, Neve came from powerlifting. Jordan came from doing strongman. So he's doing strongman, gone straight to elite level running. And he's been working with Marek Health. They've been doing his blood works, doing they do loads of stuff. Marek Health are incredible. John says they're doing wonderful stuff. You can work with Marek Health. Just check the link in the description. And remember, just do anything. Small steps daily go great distance. The reason we procrastinate so much is because we feel we have to do something great. This company was founded on small steps every single day, consistently. And of course, it's easy to say that when there was 3 of us at the start working together. It is easier when there's a team, but you can do it on your own and you can collaborate with people and you can build your own team. Small steps daily go a great distance.